Hello and welcome back to day 4 of CADvent 2024. 24 days of attempting to design something in Autodesk Fusion in the run up to Christmas. My name is Elizabeth Bishop and you can find me on my social medias at 3dbish. In today's session, day 5, we are designing some reusable table confetti in the shape of hollies and berries. So let's jump into Fusion and get started. So now that we're in Fusion, I'm actually going to use this little sketch that I created to help define the design that I want to do. So to use this, it's called a canvas and I can use it to help you create my design. So I'm going to click Insert Canvas, Insert from my computer and select that sketch that I scanned in. I'm going to place that on the XY plane and then set that there. Now what I want to do is make sure that this is the right size that I want to be working with. So in order to do that, you can right click and calibrate the canvas. Now I don't want these too big. The idea is to use them as sort of tabletop confetti. So I want the overall dimension to be less than 50 mil for this to work. And then I'm going to use this sketch to help me with my design. This is going to be a 2-component design. So the first thing I need to do is create a new component. And this is going to be the holly. Now I could have placed the canvas within that if I wanted to. I can change the transparency of the canvas to make it a little bit easier to see. Now creating a sketch on that plane, I can then use this sketch to help define the design that I want to do. So I'm going to start off with a few circles down here. So this is going to be 5 mil and then I'm going to offset that line by 0.8. So that's 2 extrusion widths wide. And then I actually just want to copy that so I can copy and paste that bit of the sketch because I want 3 of them. So I can do that and I can paste again and just copy elements of my sketch there. And then what I want to do is to make all of these berries tangent to each other so that there's no gaps between them. And then I'm just going to move them around until they're in about the position I'd like them to be. Now, I don't necessarily want this design to be fully symmetrical. I think it might look a little bit odd, fully symmetrical, but I'm just moving them around until they're in about the position that I would like them to be for this sketch. I think I wanted a diameter of 2.5, not 5 mil. There we go. That looks better. Got my diameter and radius mixed up. There we go. That's matching my sketch. And this is where your sketches can really be useful for your designs. Next thing I'm going to do is to use some arcs to help define the shape of the holly. So just clicking on these sort of points that I want to use in that sketch that I've drawn and bringing that into the circle there. Just bringing those in and creating the sketch. That is how I want it to look. And there we go. That's sort of looking a bit like a holly leaf. Now, I could do the same on the other side, make it asymmetrical, or you can add in a construction line. So clicking line, you can change the line type to construction, going from the origin to up. And then what I can do is use a mirror sketch. So selecting those 6 lines here and mirroring them across that construction line that I've just created. You can see here that creates the same sketch on the other side of the model. I will just need to bring in those lines and extend them to make the model work there. So I can add a coincident to that line there and we've got that fully enclosed sketch. Now there's different debates about whether a sketch mirror or a solid mirror is the best option. In this case, because the berries weren't symmetrical, a sketch mirror worked for me because that means I can just edit that design as needed on the opposite side. So now that I've got that sketch based on my canvas, I can hide my canvas and start working to create this into a 3D model. So starting off with an extrude, I want to extrude the 2 leaves 2 millimeters. So that's my starting point. I'm then going to view my sketch again, and I'm going to extrude these 3 outer rims by 1.8 millimeters, bringing those up there. And I want those to join rather than new body. So there we go. So they're part of the same body as the leaves. I'm now going to go back to the top level component, activate that component, and then create a new component. Now this is for the berries, because I want these to be a different component for my 3D printing. So this one, I'm going to use the same sketch that we created before and create a sketch on the bottom plane of the model. So creating that sketch, I'm going to project through. So P on the keyboard is the shortcut for project, and project through those outlines so that I can use them in this component. And then going to hide that component such that I can work with this one here. Now I'm going to do another circle offset inwards from these ones. So I want that to be offset by minus 0.2 millimeters, just to give us a little bit of clearance. So now that I have that, I'm going to extrude that profile, and I'm going to extrude this up to the top of this part here. So I want my distance to be to object. However, I want it from a little recessed part from the bottom of this. So my starting profile, I'm going to do an offset from the bottom, and my offset is going to be 0.1 millimeters upwards, which gives us an offset from there up to the top object there, so to object there. And that gives us the first section of the berry that I need. I'm then going to create a sketch on the top surface there, project through that outer line here, and finish my sketch. And then I'm going to extrude all of these profiles up by 2 millimeters. I sort of got this little peg in the hole there. I'm then going to add a fillet to this to round it off. So I want that fillet to be 2 millimeters. Or you could go a little bit smaller maybe. Depends on how round you want the berries, or if you want them to have a slight flat there. And then what I'm going to do is activate my top level component and actually copy this component. So you can just use Control and V, and you can position that. I'll just position it out of the part so you can see what I'm going to do. And again, selecting berries part 1, Control and V, and position that up here. I'm then going to add in some joints, so assemble and joint. I'm going to grab that top part there, bring that down to here and click OK. And the same with this one here. So grab the top part there and bring that down here. Now I think for the design, it might be good to have a little chamfer to help sit those in. So I'm going to go back to the berries one, hiding the holly, and add a small chamfer on this here. So I want that to have a chamfer of 0.5 millimeters there. And that's going to sit in the top of the holly. So I need to add a corresponding chamfer to the holly as well. So activating the holly, I'm going to hide the berries. And then what I'm going to do is add in a similar chamfer to these surfaces here. So that chamfer is going to be 0.4 millimeters. And let's have a look and see how that looks with all of our components viewable. We've lost the joint. That's because I will need to redo that joint. So if I edit the joint, and actually I'll just delete those joints because I want to do the joint after the chamfer. So what I'm going to do is activate the berries, add that chamfer back in. So that is on here, and that's going to be a chamfer of 0.5. And you can see that copies through to the copies of that component there. Go back to the top level component and I can add in those joints there. So I want to joint that to the top of there. And the same, I want to add that top joint to the top of there. I'm just going to check for interference. I'm not sure if I've quite got my model perfectly right. Nope, so that's okay. And we can see that we've got our holly and berries sitting inside those locations there. think I want this fillet to be slightly less severe, so I'm just going to edit that back in, and I think I'm going to do 1.8 just to give it sort of a flatter look on the top there. I think that looks a little bit better. I also need to add a chamfer to the edge of the holly. I'm going to go back in and edit the holly design. I'm just going to roll that back before I extruded these parts and add in a chamfer to give it a little bit more of an effect. So I'm just going to grab those top two surfaces and I'm going to add a 1mm chamfer to that. Much prefer how that looks in terms of looking like a holly leaf. And then all you need to do is roll that timeline forward and the design is updated to reflect those changes back down the line. So rolling my timeline all the way forward, we've got our holly and berries in there. And there we go. That is the design. You could edit if you're not happy with how this looks, you could edit the extrusions you did on the berries and just reduce those slightly. So instead of 2.2mm, you could just drop them to 1.8 and you can edit those fillets to be 1.5. Gives a sort of rounder, flatter look to the berries, depending on what you're going for with your design. And then when you print these, you will print the holly on its own, and then you can print the berries, 3 copies of it, and slot them in. So let's add some appearances and see how that looks with some red and green. So I want a nice green for the holly leaves. So I'm going to choose a plastic matte green for that. And then I want a red for the leaves. So I'm going to choose for a red for the berries and adding those to those components. You only need to add it to 1 because it's a copy of the component. And there we have it. A small reusable table topper. All that's left to do now is export your files as an STL, load them up into the printer in whatever color you want to print them in, and then you can 3D print multiple copies of these and scatter them across your table for Christmas Day. If you've got any questions, please do pop them in the comments. If you've liked this video, give it a thumbs up and let me know what you want me to do for the rest of CADvent. I'll see you in the next video.